Hello YouTube, this is Explanetory. I am relegated to no tripod, and also somebody hacked my computer so that I couldn't download any alternative media shows and then do what I do with those shows, which I'm not going to say, but they hacked into the USB port. Plus I had to do a reboot more than usual. Then I didn't go to the F keys. I had to do a whole Ubuntu reboot, which is different. I knew they were hacking in because of that reason, more than usual. But definitely they're messing with the USB ports, turning them off, and also I think rewriting my SD micro SD cards, because some play and then some don't. It works. A few of them from the past work. Some new ones, brand new ones, don't work. But I like to cover this. Aside from that, I have to do this. I have to do something productive. I like to point out the emotional fallacy of the Bible and how it provokes and basically gets into your mind, into your psyche without you evaluating. Because if you're prone to emotion, you won't be able to see it clearly. Anybody who's objective, deductive, anybody who looks at things rationally, reasonably, without any bias. I know that people who are religious they probably have a chemical imbalancement, and they also, their flight or fight or flight system is on, but not in a realistic sense. In other words, they're only thinking about the future when they die. Bible uses two things against us: the threat of hell and the blackmail of heaven. I call it extortion of hell, but it's a threat. It's really a threat. It's telling you better do what I say, or you know what, you go burning in a lake of fire, when it's not like that at all. So I'm getting into the realities of, I think I'm starting to realize what we're in right now. It's the reality we're in is something like a matrix. I was gonna make another video, but let me just touch on the video I'm gonna make, how the Bible tells you we are in the matrix, because in reality it's telling you we're in a materialistic reality, and that our souls go into like a fetus, and then the fetus grows up into a human, right, through different stages. So now we have to realize that's the same thing with the matrix, except the matrix is a virtual reality. We come into a fetus and we go through the stages of life: childhood, teenager, adult, and old, and then geriatric, and then we die, right? Or we might get killed before that. So basically, in reality, and in parallel terms, one is a physical world, which scientists are saying otherwise, that everything is light, which I already said myself. There are vortices that basically turn light into material. The deal with that is, one says the Bible says it's material world that we're incarnated into, and the other one, the virtual reality one, is the matrix, where it's a virtual reality created by some either computer or beings that can create. I imagine if we're in a virtual reality, we definitely are being manipulated by these beings for sure. And the angels are nothing more than their bots, their AI messengers and workers, watchdogs. Just like you see in the movie with Nicolas Cage, City of Angels. They don't have emotions. Throughout the beginning, they talk about that they wish they could taste food, do this, do that, feel the wind on their face and all that. Okay, well, that's the other video. I know I kind of almost did the whole video there, but okay, here's one that I have 8 points that I'm going to cover. I could probably come up with more, but this is a rush job. This is where Matthew 10:34, of course, of all things, the New King James Version, is the one I usually read, which is basically written by Sir Francis Bacon. King James is basic his buddy writer, his literary companion, and it says Christ brings division. Christ, I can imagine, since he is supposedly not of this world, would actually create friction in this world, and there would be a bit of a division. But if you really read it, he's basically telling you to worship him, and that's another thing. Okay, first, I don't like the way that he sets people against each other instead of bringing them together. That's the main problem I have with it. And you have to realize this is definitely written in very poetic verse, which lends itself to, everybody loves poetry for its beauty. So poetry is definitely a way to get people on board. So here it goes. One, it's an emotional plea. Two, okay. Second, you've never met Jesus. He is basically an unknown quantity. We don't know if he's good or evil, or if he's a ploy or trick of the enemy. That's definitely one. Okay. Three, if you believe in and you invest all your chips on this, you're banking on a highly publicized rumor. That's another one. This was written in poetry, like the way Sir Francis Bacon was capable of doing. In fact, I'm going to have to make another follow-up on this one on Sir Francis Bacon, because I need to compare his normal outside of the Bible writing to the biblical aspect of his writing, to see where they meet, where, because a lot of the writing is not, the stories are not basically, they're not all Sir Francis Bacon, because basically he was getting a lot of the ones that were already written and just spicing them up a little, making them sound better, putting them in better context, forward to back, back to forward, middle to last, last to middle, and then writing them in a very desirable manner that people, and maybe even adding a little stuff into there so that it could even just sound better. Like anybody who denies, like it says here, he who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. That could have been written in, I don't know for sure, but if I were Sir Francis Bacon, that's what I would have written in, so that it could have a good ending, a good punch to it. Okay. Fifth, Jesus doesn't unite, he divides. A tactic. This is a tactic you usually find with the Zionists. It's their main tactic. Like right now we see in the political scene, they're dividing so many different types of people, black people, white people, Mexican, gays, women. Now they come out with all these other supposedly genders, a whole bunch of them, over 100 I think. 6, he believes so strongly in his message he will even tell you his disuniting plan, which in my opinion is not good, which is basically a nice way of saying evil. Oh, I'm saying it not good, but it's basically evil. Okay, 7, so you have to love Jesus, a dude you never met, over your own biological parents. That usually sounds like a cult. It's right here. He who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Yeah, it's even worse. Mother's love for their children, or fathers, is usually stronger than the children to the parents, usually. So he wants you to love people, love him, a being you've never met, some supposed rumor dude, that you've heard so many rumors about, over your parents or over your children. Definitely sounds like a cult, because that's what children in cults do. They don't go back to their families, even if they send people to come and pick them up, they don't want to go, because they're supposedly love more. Of course there's exceptions where parents are really cruel, unbelievably evil to their children. Okay, number 8. He wants you to reject the world and take up the cross, which, if taken literally, consists of denying your impulses and being poor. Unlike, of course, some churches. Churches, of course, we all know they've turned it into a money-making deal, and to their own luxury. And yeah, they have a lot of impulses, with people. If you know what I mean. They get caught all the time doing those things. Mainly, yes, it says here. Let me recap what he says. This is Matthew 10:34-34. Do not think that I come to bring peace on earth. I do not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. So basically, another point that I didn't actually realize is, in order for you to officially and correctly love Jesus, you have to love him more than your parents or your children. So that is already an unreasonable, very, very unreasonable demand. And I'm going to say that without a doubt. That is very unethical, because you've never met the guy. This guy could be a demon, which I've already said many times, because I believe these are beings from another dimension, and they come into this realm at certain times, like the way I have a French video where he puts 2 clocks, 2 metronomes, and at some given time these metronomes are in sync. They start off different, but at any given time, a certain point, they synchronize. And those are the times when these beings come over, and then they apostolize. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Their belief system on us, so that we create a whole religion about them. And then they go away. They have to, because they're not of this world, just the way Jesus said. He's not of this world. He could very well be a deity from another dimension, or just a being from another dimension that's got his act together. Of course, they may live a lot longer, and that's how they know a lot more. They never have to go through the process of dying and being reborn again, being what does it call it? Reincarnated. So yeah, these every cycle is called an age, and if you really consider, Jesus was born 2,000 years ago, and that's exactly almost how much an age is. I think he should, the being that pretends to be Jesus and the Savior and all that, should be coming back again pretty soon, because it was about 2,000 years ago. And then the gate is open only for 30 some odd years, 33 and a half years actually. And the gate closes. I have a video where there's a painting. I could even show you that, where it says the gate of Judah, and it shows a painting of it, and it's in heaven. Those are what the gates are in heaven. The cube of heaven. The cube of heaven has 12 gates for the 12 dimensions. So they're not pearly gates. They're actually wormholes. They're like the Bifrost from Thor, the comic book Thor, or the Legend of Thor. And basically they come every 2,160 years. I think there's different ages. The zodiac is 25,000 in fraction, and you have to divide that by so I guess it's 12. You got 12 jumps in 26,000, close to 26,000 years. So they basically come every 2,000 years. I think I have a list of the ages and how long they lasted in another page, but to find it, I could probably find it on the internet. So I think the ages are slightly different. Some are actually 1,900 years. So we're probably getting close to the time that the archetype deity, I guess I should call them archetype because they're archons. They're I don't know if they're disembodied in their dimension, but they live in a different realm, and they do manipulate humanity. with their vast intelligence, since they've been around thousands, maybe millions of years. They've lived hundreds of thousands. We don't really know, but they have the ability to manipulate us. That I do know. And as long as I know that, I'm going to keep on telling everybody about these messages, about these beings, and getting it out there. I'm gonna get this message out, because I know that I'm going up a massive mountain, because everybody is totally invested in this, but not because it's just they think they're going to heaven and rather than hell if they go this way, but the fact that their culture is pushing them that way. And we all know what that, the school days where you're always trying to be part of the clique, that pressure to make you part of the gang. And you might have different reasons for being in the gang. They might outcast you or not giving you any inheritance. There's a jillion reasons why you do it. Some to just belong, some not to create rifts. Just a bunch of reasons. Maybe you don't even have any idea that it's all deception. But I know that religions, anyone that you can pick just about, is it's been taken over. Even maybe even some of the better religions like Hinduism or what was another one, Buddhism. They might not teach you the whole. Once you get into a certain level, you just stay there. You never get to the highest levels, which is the adept level. So they could also be keeping those people from getting to the very highest parts, because you got nobody telling you how to do things correctly. You go and try to find out how to become a higher conscious person, and there's nothing there in the videos, nowhere. In books, I've gotten countless books. The only thing that I know that can probably make us ascend is certain substances, and I'm not going to tell you them at the moment, but I can tell you right now, I do believe there are things like the ambrosia of the gods, but because that was a cornucopia of different things, and I already kind of broke that down, and the nectar of the gods. I do know possibly what those two things are. I've been on that for 8 or 9, 10 years, about 10 years, and now I'm realizing you cannot open up your mind without these various chemicals and foods, and if you made them in an extract, make them concentrated, well, that would even be way better. You wouldn't get, you'd have to eat a lot of food or whatever, but the concentrated extract versions would be very good, and I believe they know those things. That's for the human coil, for the human form. Now the gods, the gods that call themselves gods from other dimensions, they don't eat these foods. They need spiritual food from us, and that's what they have us for. If we don't believe in them, just like you've heard in the movie Clash of the Titans and the other movies after that if we don't believe in them, we don't give them their energy that they need. So that's possibly, I've always wondered if the gods live in a higher dimension or a lower dimension, but it sounds like a lower dimension, and we're receiving energy from a higher dimension, but they are in the lower dimension. And I think that's why if we ascend, we will not be giving them any sustenance. They need a lot of it. The thing with that is also that we are being kept down religiously, spiritually, monetarily, and every other de facto, so that we don't live in a more open, free, knowledgeable society where we can learn these things and become ascended. It's become ascended, then they can no longer receive what they need, and I believe that they want us to die at an earlier age so that we get recycled back into the matrix. In other words, old age does not behoove them. They do not get any. We may acquire more knowledge, or we may actually go to another dimension at a higher frequency. So they want us in this frequency, so they have to have us die. That's why they need wars and famines and diseases, and that's why they have their people here at the top doing all these things, oppressing us, trying to kill us off. Because the minute they take away our guns is the minute they're gonna come down on us, and that's just the way it is. I don't care what any of these liberal people say, it is like that. They're being controlled by the archons, the same people like that you see in religion. None of these religious gods are actually in our favor. They are actually the complete diametric opposite. Evil, and their intent is to enslave us and keep us in a perpetual loop. A loop of that behooves them, makes them live with power, and they're very egomaniac, egotistical, megalomania, the whole 9 yards, because they always want you to worship them. And if there are equals, or if they were just nice people and nice gods, even if there were nice gods, just say nice gods, you would not have to get down on your knees, kiss their feet, and worship them all day and all night, as it says in the Bible. Come on, people. Use your brain. That's what it's there for. Okay, man, this video's gotten far too long, so I'm gonna cut it off here. Infonator out. Peace.